And something that I've done for a number of years throughout my playing days and just throughout my professional career, I've looked into diet and nutrition, how that affects health and chronic disease and athletic performance. And I've come to different sort of conclusions that many here may know of. For people that don't, I do advocate for a species-specific, biologically appropriate diet for our species. All animals have a species-specific diet, something that they eat specifically, and we are no different. And so it's very important to identify what that is, and I think all the best evidence shows that that is actually a carnivorous diet, eating mostly, if not exclusively, fatty meat. And that's what people have been doing since the dawn of humanity. And whatever you've been doing forever, that is what you're used to doing. That's what you're biologically adapted to doing, because that's how nature works. If you're not adapted, if you're not biologically evolved to eat a certain way, you're going to die. You're not going to make it. It's survival of the fittest. And so whether or not we were adapted to this way of eating 2 million, 3 million years ago, after 2 to 3 million years, we damn well are now. And so anyone saying that, no, actually eating something that didn't exist 50 years ago, that's what you need to do, you can just write them off as a lunatic. So meat has always provided essential nutrients, right? So this is something that we require, okay? How do we know this? Well, the Inuit exist, right? There are no plants in the Arctic Circle. There are no plants during an ice age in an Arctic Circle. What plants were available for the people who crossed the land bridge from Asia to North America during the last ice age? There were none. So obviously, if you can't get everything that you need in the proportion that you need them from meat, then you can't survive. You can't live generationally, and we don't exist. We're not here right now. None of our ancestors would have made it through the numerous ice ages, and the Inuits wouldn't exist right now, but they do. And many other examples of humanity do, like the Maasai there. And so animal-based diets, but they provide the nutrients. We're evolved, we're biologically designed to eat these things, and there are a number of different examples of that. A number of different people, such as the Inuit, such as the Maasai, such as the Nanette, the native Australians. These people are well documented to be eating a lot of meat, and they would know which plants to eat, maybe used medicinally, or if they were at a point of starvation. And so a lot of people will say, well, they had access to these things, sometimes they ate them, therefore they were eating them all the time. Well, you can't say that about the Inuit, because they just never had them. So it's always a good example, always good to think about the Inuit or the Nanette or people living during an ice age. And one of the main things is they did not have chronic disease at all. So there are a number of accounts going back hundreds of years that found that these populations did not get the so-called diseases of the West. And that's what they had to call them, because only people in Western countries were getting these diseases. These people were not. Now, since they've been incorporated into Western society, they're eating more Western food, Western alcohol, Western sugar, Western seed oils. They're getting Western diseases. Right now we just call them getting older, right? Plant-based diets. These are sort of in vogue, hopefully not for much longer, but they are missing many essential nutrients: B12, D3, K2, retinol, which is vitamin A, DHA, EPA. We touched on those. Those are the essential omega-3s that you have to have, that you cannot get from plants. And we don't really make them well ourselves. We need them from the food that we eat. Retinol, vitamin A. People think, well, what about beta carotene? Can't you turn that into vitamin A? Yeah. But only 55% of people can. Fully 45% of human beings cannot convert beta carotene into retinol. They have to get it from meat. You can't get it from anywhere else. So what does that mean? That means we have to eat meat, right? We have to eat it to get B12 too. That doesn't exist. D3 doesn't exist. Well, vitamin K, we get that from kale, right? Vitamin kale. No. Kale has K1, and just like ALA, that's an omega-3, but it's not the right omega-3. K1 is not the right vitamin K. We need K2, and we can't really convert K1 into K2. So we need it again from our meat. So any nutritionist, and this is sort of the crux of this discussion, any nutritionist who advocates for a plant-based diet or even a plant-exclusive diet is ignoring those fundamental facts. They're recommending a diet that is fundamentally deficient in basic nutrients. How can you call yourself a nutritionist if you're advocating for a diet that is devoid of nutrients? How can you say that that's an optimal diet, that that's a good diet, or even an appropriate diet for anyone at any stage in life if it is fundamentally deficient in nutrients? But the problem is they do. A lot of people do, and a lot of these colleges of nutritional sciences advocate for a plant-based diet. So we know it's not how we evolved, and some people would argue, some nutritionists argue, well, that's okay, because everyone died when they were 30 anyway. Now we're eating these seed oils, which are so great, they're so good for your heart, and then you can live longer. Well, that's not true. First of all, they live much longer than we did. We actually know that genetically we're supposed to live 120 years. And yet we're dying in our 60s and 70s. So anybody who, oh, my grandmother lived to 92, she ate a lot of carrots. Great. She died 30 years young, you know? And the fact of the matter is that the reason that they died on average in their 30s was because of infant mortality, right? You also can't tell the age of a pre-agriculture skeleton because they don't get arthritis. They don't get decay. They don't lose their teeth. So you're looking at this and going, wow, this young, healthy example. They were all like that because they weren't getting the chronic diseases that we got immediately after the agricultural revolution. You started seeing the degradation in the skeletons, arthritis, tooth decay, tooth loss, crooked teeth, small jaws, shorter stature, on average 5 inches shorter. On average, much smaller, shorter femurs, signs of infection, poor wound healing, things like that.